Hi, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Sports Illustrated beat writer, covering the Las Vegas Raiders. Thanks for being with me today. We got a lot to get into with you today. We're joined by Matt Hladek of thespun.com, and we're going to stay pretty much centric just on the Raiders today. Now, he joins me every week as he has for, well, Matt,
Oh,
how many years is it?
probably about 12. It's going on 12, I think, since Rutgers joined it. Not since they joined the Big Ten, since it became announced they were going to be in the Big Ten. So 2012.
Right. He's joined me up pretty much every week, and we break things down. As you know, I cover the Raiders micro league, which is under a microscope. I'm close to it. He covers the NFL macro league for the spun.com. Now, I'm going to say something to you. Make the spun.com part of your favorites. I read it every single day. Now, I would think that I have a pretty good deal about the NFL. I think I have a pretty good intuitive knowledge of Bill Belichick. And I had no idea about his 24-year-old girlfriend until I got on the spun and clicked on it because that's stuff I just don't care about. Good for Bill. If he loves her, he loves her. But um, I love having Matt on because he looks at the NFL differently. He sees the Raiders differently, and it's great. So I want to start Davante Adams. I don't think there's any doubt he's the best receiver in the NFL. You look at last year, which is his worst in a long time, worst as a Raider, over 1,000 yards, over 100 catches. This guy goes out there, coach getting fired, changing system, rookie quarterback, still gets a lot of stats. Um, he does so much that when you look at PFF or other people come out with their rankings or with their fantasy football, the disrespect is disappointing to me for any player. And I think there are some non Raiders that were disrespected too. I just like to see players get the recognition they deserve. I think it's ridiculous the way people write off Davante Adams. I think he's going to have his biggest season as a Raider this year. Your thoughts on the disrespect and perception of Davante Adams, please, Matt.
Well, the one thing I will point out is I think when you look at any type of, I think this is PFF's rankings of the receivers, and let me just pull it up to make sure I got it accurate. They're going by not just ability and not they're looking at their how they're going to finish statistically. For example, uh, CeeDee Lamb's a great receiver. He's going to get paid eventually. He's one of the best receivers in the NFL. He's not the number one receiver in the NFL, but he is number one in his PPR rank. I mean, in his fantasy football rankings because of his stats. The two guys immediately behind him, uh, actually, the three guys immediately behind him are Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. And I would say all three are better players than him, even though he's an outstanding player to CeeDee Lamb. So I do think part of it goes into it's just strictly fantasy. With that being said, Davante was a little lower than you might think. I think part of that goes into, yeah, it's a lack of faith in the Raiders or the quarterback position. But like you said, as a counter to that, he put up good numbers last year with Jimmy Garoppolo and Nate O'Connell and a change in coaching staff. So a lot of movement around him. He's kind of, production proof there. Like he's always going to put up his stats. Um, to me, I think that it also another thing that I think goes into it with those type of rankings is he's been doing it for so long, and he's just kind of been like this stud, old reliable for such a long time that I think there's temptation to lift the next crop, the next big thing or big things over him, uh, to kind of for buzz purposes or to say that you were the one that predicted him to kind of break out. So I do think it's a little bit of um, sleeping on him or disrespect to have him that low. But I also think that we have to remember it's not necessarily indicative of how good he is just as a player when you're going off strictly um, fantasy stuff. For instance, I'm looking right now, Puka Nakua, unbelievable rookie season, great player, going to have a really good career, especially with as long as he stays with Sean McVay because he's tailor made for him. I would still put Davante Adams ahead of Puka Nakua as a player, but Puka's ahead of him in his fantasy rank. So I think a lot of things go into it.
Yeah, the thing that gets me though is, does anybody think Justin Jefferson's going to get Justin Jefferson numbers
The
without
Sam,
Kirk Cousins?
that's also true. You're banking on him. He's gonna your number three
Mhm.
guy in this list, banking on his ability with Sam Darnold or JJ McCarthy, but you're not necessarily banking on him with Davante. So that's a fair rebuttal.
Listen, I think JJ McCarthy is going to be a good quarterback in the NFL. I don't know that he's going to be great. I think he's going to be good. Sam Darnold is Sam Darnold. We all know what that is. Dear
Mm-hmm.
God. But to not hold Justin to that standard and to hold Davante to me is just ludicrous. All right, next I want to get to the quarterback situation in the NFL and how Aiden O'Connell could just be the blessing that this is an area where Aiden's not getting respect. So he comes out talking about Trevor Lawrence gets a $257 million deal, with 200 million of it is basically guaranteed. It's actually 100, about 150 that's actually guaranteed. But when you look at how it's structured, it's pretty confident he'll get to 200, and it could be more. And I have no issue with that. But here is a concern that I have. If I'm an NFL team, you're looking at teams now putting 20 to 25% of their cap
Mm-hmm.
into their quarterback. And I was talking to an executive, you know who I was speaking to recently, who said to me that one of the most underrated things about Tom Brady was that his ego was never about, I want to be the number one paid quarterback. Because he knew at the quarterback position, if you win, there's endorsements and everything else. He gets that. So he was willing to be less than the best paid because he wanted to win. And this person went on and said to me, I would be nervous if I had a guy that didn't want to get paid well. But I would be just as nervous if he insisted on being number one and not, hey, I don't care about being number one. I want to make sure, where's the money I don't take going to be spent? You look at Brock Purdy with San Francisco, they would never be able to do what they're doing without him because his contract is so manageable as a UDFA. You look at the Raiders and say, okay, we're going to take another year to get better. We're not sure about Aiden O'Connell, but we've seen enough to think there's a chance. Let's wait. And if it doesn't work out, we can address quarterback next year. But he's on a fourth round deal, man, and that's really cheap money for a quarterback. I think the NFL is fast approaching a ceiling that they're killing the product. They're hurting the product. I've heard people talk about, well, let's have a special salary cap for
Yeah.
quarterback. I disagree. I think that's a dumb idea. This is a team game. I think it's dangerous. I'd love your thoughts on all of that.
Well, it is fascinating because, like you mentioned, the Trevor Lawrence deal. Now you have Tua looking for his next contract, and you have Justin Herbert. Oh no, Justin Herbert got his. Did he get his last year? Yeah, he got it. Okay, my apologies. But you have Tua looking for his. Dak. Some people saying Dak could get 300 million, whether it's from the Cowboys or from another team. And it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know. It's like you said, something has to give. And I know some people have talked about, well, having a separate cap for quarterbacks or doing something where the money doesn't fully count towards the team cap. And maybe that eventually does happen. It is how the NFL solves it. But I think what you're looking at is there's there's 13, 15 good, some elite, but there's good, very good, better than average quarterbacks in the NFL. But when they're all getting paid these big salaries, teams, it's tough to build. And you're gonna listen. The NFL, as much parity as it does seem to have, the cream of the crop has always been the teams that have the elite quarterbacks. And has always been for the most part, there's always been a select few teams that are really, um, at the top of the league competing for championships every year. But now you're really going to get to a point where the only teams that are going to have a shot to compete are the ones that have a or a Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, somebody like that, or a team that gets lucky with a Brock Purdy or one of those big time quarterbacks on a rookie deal. Because otherwise, you have teams that are going to be hamstringing themselves with the amount of money that they're going to have to spend to keep their quarterbacks happy or keep them around. So it is fascinating. We've seen in life the bubble bursting with different markets, real estate and mortgages and everything, and you can go on and on. And you've seen in sports the bubble bursting. I think we saw the running back bubble bursting in real time over the last several years, where the position became devalued and guys weren't getting the contracts they liked or had previously been getting. I wonder if a quarterback bubble is coming at some point too.
Wait, so I'm going to address this because this is where Aiden O'Connell, if he pans out and he becomes what they think he could be, the Raiders got 2 more years of him at cheap money. But here's what I think. I hate the idea of a separate salary cap. It's a team sport. I think the bubble's coming. Now, I've shared this with you before. I had an NFL GM say this to me one time. 8 teams know they have a quarterback that can win a Super Bowl. 8. 8 teams think they do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Jaguars clearly think they do, but you have a quarterback that's never won
Mm-hmm.
a playoff game.
Oh,
Jordan Love
one.
has.
He
I'm
beat
sorry, that's right.
yeah.
He came back and beat the Bulls.
Yep.
Okay. You
But
got
one point.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So does Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Jordan Love has playoff wins. And then you got to turn around. I mean, at some point, the bubble's going to burst because you got 8 teams that think that know they have it, 8 that think, and 16 that want to get up into the top 16. My point is, I don't think you want to. I don't think you want a separate salary cap. The owners aren't giving up any more percentage of their money. That's just
Mm-hmm.
not going to happen. So to have a separate salary cap, I mean, I've been flat told by people either in ownership or close to ownership, they're not giving up any more because a separate salary cap would indicate, extra money. No, it's not happening. So I just think it's coming where you're going to find out who the winners are. I'm going to give Derek Carr a lot of credit. He made a lot of money playing for the Raiders, and we're not pretending he didn't. I don't think anybody thinks that Derek Carr is Tom Brady, not implying that. But that was a guy that was willing to consistently take less money to make his teammates get paid. And so for me, that is the trend of what's going to happen in the NFL. I think there is a great reset coming, and they're going to start saying, listen, 50. I mean, now we're approaching 60 million for quarterbacks is ridiculous. Let's use Dallas compared to the Raiders. Okay. Dallas is in hell because of the contract to Dak. So let's say he goes out and they win a playoff game. Okay, they're going to have to re-sign him if he wins a playoff game. If they don't, I think they probably move on. But let's just assume for the sake of this argument, because I like Dak. I'm not rooting against Dak. He's a wonderful guy. You got him, CeeDee Lamb, and Micah Parsons. Now, arguably, Micah significantly more important than CeeDee Lamb. I don't know that Dak's done enough. I think you can make a debate which one's more important, Dak or Micah. But if you want to keep all three, you're easily looking at somewhere between 60 and 65% of your cap in 3 players, Matt. It's just, and that's where, again, if Aiden O'Connell becomes what the Raiders think they are, it's going to be a Brock Purdy situation. Man, they're sitting in high cotton.
They are, and I mean, that's the benefit of landing a under the radar type quarterback or hitting on any rookie quarterback, because you can now build your roster for the next 3-4 years with that guy for cheap. And listen, the Niners are getting to a point where they may have to pay the piper, because this is, Brock Purdy's going to his 3rd year. He has 2 this season and next on his rookie deal. But as long as he keeps playing well, and as long as they keep winning, he's going to want more money. And the Niners are going to have to make a choice to say, okay, how much of our success is this guy, and how much of it is, our talent and our system, and him, playing a supporting role. So, I mean, if you look at past strategy with Shanahan teams, I think they would be leaning towards the latter. I don't think they're going to be in a rush to pay Brock Purdy big money as much as they may like him, because I think that they feel that Kyle Shanahan can make a lot work with a lot of different quarterbacks.
Mhm.
But it's an interesting situation. Like, you have that little window to build with a rookie guy, and then the tax man comes and you got to pay up, and you have to decide quickly. And that's why you're seeing teams, in the past, teams would wait 3, 4, into a fifth year sometimes to see what a quarterback had, and to really make that decision. You could you could wait. You can't wait anymore. You got to know. It sounds insane, but you almost have to know by, if not the start of a quarterback's second year, I think in his second year, in early on, through his second year, what you have, and then you have to make a decision, because the way that the finances work in the NFL, you don't have time to play around.
Do you think the NFL is hurting itself?
How so?
Do you think it's its own worst enemy?
In general, you think, like, or
Yeah.
like, um, I've we've talked about it on here. I think that the only thing that could, I don't want to say bring down, because I don't think anything can really bring down the NFL, or I think the only thing that could dock the NFL or knock it down, or it is the NFL. I mean, I think that it's such a behemoth, and it's so well established and beloved, that I think the only thing that could take it down a few pegs is, um something of its own doing, whether it's, they look at it, a decision with, we talked about all the different streaming and all that, those services, that they're their own worst enemy, at least from a PR perspective, where they get, a lot of fans complaining. I do think that they've been their own worst enemy in terms of some of the quality of play we've seen recently. I think just the fact that the way the offseason is structured, where there's less contact, there's less full practicing. I think that's to blame a little bit for some of the subpar offensive line play, or even some of the shoddy quarterback play you see, especially earlier in seasons. I think since the NFL, even though I agree with shortening the preseason, and I think the preseason teams are smart to not, for the most part, to not play their big guys in the preseason. I think it does affect the early season product for a couple of weeks. Teams really got to get under their, get their feet under them and see what they have. So I do think the NFL could be its own worst enemy in some degrees there. Do I think it ultimately is going to matter for the league too much in the bottom line? Probably not.
I'm telling you right now, I firmly believe this. There is a massive bubble coming. All right. And just before we went on the air, I texted an NFL executive. And this is the email, the text I got, and I just got one back. So I'm literally getting this with you. I said to this person, when you look at the deals that are being handed out to quarterbacks, I was told, and I named the person that I was talking to, that one of the things that made Tom Brady great was that his desire to win was more than his desire to be the highest paid. He understood that he would get the endorsements and other deals. So he took less money as long as it went to his teammates, yada, yada, stuff we talked about. I said, what's your thoughts on the growing, quarterback market? This is what he said. What would you rather have on your team? A guy who wants to set the ego of being the highest paid quarterback, or the one that knows he's going to make tens of millions, knows about endorsements, and says, I'd rather take care of my teammates so we win? I get and I understand there's nothing wrong with wanting to be the highest paid. I want to be the highest paid. But I also know For me to keep my job, those around me have to be very talented. And if we were on a salary cap making the kind of money that these guys make, I think I would be bent towards the winning angle. I think Tom Brady, not just for on the field, but this off of the field, proves why he's the GOAT. What do you that I think that's pretty powerful.
It's very interesting, and I think that ideally you want that. Now, I will say one thing that we didn't touch on is too much from the player's perspective. The players and the union may not be too keen on guys taking too many sweetheart deals or taking too many team discounts because it sets a bad precedent. Um, I know that it's not apples to apples, but a famous example of this in baseball was when the Red Sox almost traded for Alex Rodriguez, and he had that massive contract, which was the highest in baseball, maybe the highest in sports at the time. And he said, "I'm going to rip it up. I'm going to sign a new deal." And the players' union said, "No, you're not, because that's going to set terrible precedent. You can't do that." And they avoided the deal. He ends up getting traded to the Yankees. Um, I can see instances where if a quarterback takes something that is too much under so-called market value, where players may push back and say, "Well, listen, like, we want to get paid because," and then here's the other thing: if a quarterback who uh, Trevor Lawrence got 200 million guaranteed, say, if Tua doesn't push for 200 million guaranteed or 210 or 220 or whatever, and he takes 150 and he takes a lower deal, the Dolphins are happy. Tua is still going to be happy when his paycheck comes because that's big time money. That's generational wealth, regardless. But other quarterbacks are not happy because their teams are going to use as leverage as negotiations. Hey, look, this guy did it. Why do you need this, this, and this? So it's really fascinating because I do think a bubble's coming or could be coming, like you said. I think something has to give. And I think that executive in at its core, that strategy is sound. And every fan would want that, every executive would want that. And I think players, if they someone may say on the record, yeah, I do that for my team or whatever, but truth serum, I think everybody wants the money. So, and I think that when you add in all those factors, something has to give, but I'm just not sure what it is yet. We'll see.
I know of more than one situation though where a quarterback held out for every penny.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a lot of glue guys that had to be let go, and teams took a dive.
The fine
And
line.
there was a lot of resentment. I know of one particular situation where a quarterback held out to get I mean, I was told by his teammate he'd hold out for an extra 9 cents. That's a quote. And there was a lot of anger because there were some guys that had to leave that team and they felt like he was just being greedy. There's a fine line because when you walk into that locker room, it's a family.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're so greedy, I go back to this, and I'm blessed. I wasn't raised in a family that didn't have a lot of money. I mean, I never worried about money growing up. But I have a friend that came from a very, very poor family. And I'll never forget one time at my house, we were eating dinner, and he said to me, I can't believe there was leftovers.
Mm-hmm.
I said, what? He goes, leftovers. And in my family, after dinner, they would take the leftovers, put them in a pan, and that's what we fed the dogs. Along with dog food, we always give the leftovers to the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, man, in my family, we never have enough.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, and dad always makes sure that all of us have, dad doesn't ever take seconds. He goes, your dad did. And I go, well, there was plenty. My point is, if and this guy adored his father because when he got older, he realized, wow, mom and dad sacrificed for me. Now, my parents sacrificed too, but in other ways.
Yeah.
But my point to you is in that locker room where everybody knows what everybody else gets paid, where that's been discussed at length, including Bill Polian on this podcast, which I thought he was brilliant. If they know, wow, you held out for an extra 9 cents and our brother, okay, I'll give another example. I have a buddy who is a very talented, he's retired now, very talented, very successful offensive lineman, played a long time. And his quarterback held out for every penny, every penny, every penny, every penny, every penny. And he eventually, they just said, listen, we can't afford to pay you. And he's like, but I'm willing to take less money to stay. They go, yeah, but I mean, we really can't afford to pay you. Now get this. So they had to let him go. And he went as a free agent to another team and played, I believe, another 5 years. So he was a very good lineman. And they had to go replace him with a real cheap veteran and then a cheap rookie. Ended up getting the quarterback hurt, all because he wanted his extra 9 cents. I'm just saying, I have no problem. I am a free market capitalist. I want everybody to make a bundle of money. But to do that, you also have to understand you better leave some meat on the bone, or you're going to have to deal with a locker room that you're asking every week to give you everything. And why, if you're not demonstrating you're part of the family, it's tricky, isn't it?
It is. It's a very fine line. Like I said, a lot of give and take. Um, that's why the NFL is big business. You get all these type of things going on.
Yeah. And I don't want to make that guy's quarterback look terrible because he made a business decision and I respect him. But if you remember, ask me after we're done, I'll tell you who that lineman was. Now I want to get to the preseason. The Raiders are in a quagmire. I don't want to see Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins touch the field in preseason. Now, as of right now, there's no joint practices. I don't think there's going to be. There could be, but at this point, there isn't. Those are so valuable that, okay, maybe
Mhm.
you give those guys one series in the first two games. I would be content to never see them play in the preseason. That's my opinion. But when you've got two or three guys competing for a quarterback spot,
Mhm.
and if it's a real competition and you want to judge it, you have to, in my opinion, you have to play your starters equally with both guys or all three guys to get a look. Is this going to be one of the most fascinating preseasons that we've seen for the Raiders in a long time?
Well, it's very interesting, especially for a guy who's going through his first full season as a head coach. How does he kind of handle this? And listen, here's the thing. I think that, um, even I know he said, I want to make sure I phrase this right. He said that Aiden O'Connell is the starter right now, like, or has he named him the starter?
No, he's just said he's the guy. They're going to have to beat him, but it's going to be a fair competition.
So here's the thing: even if he were to take it a step further and say Aiden O'Connell is my QB1, he's going to be our Week 1 starter. I still think you have to play him a little bit in the preseason because this is a guy who's going into his second year. He only started half of his rookie season. He's never started the year as a starting quarterback. So it's not like he's a guy who has the routine of going through training camp and going through preseason and things like that, where, you could just throw him in Week 1, he's ready to go. So I think even if you were to say, if Antonio Pierce came out tomorrow and said, Aiden O'Connell's our QB1. He's starting Week 1 against they play the Chargers Week 1. Yeah, he's starting Week 1 against the Chargers. He's he still, I think, has to play a couple of series at least in these preseason games to kind of get his feet wet. And if you're really going to have a competition of sorts, then you have to play him and you got to play Gardner Minshew.
I agree. It's going to be a fascinating preseason for the Raiders. I'll tell you what, I'm already raring to go. I know we just finished mandatory mini camp, and I'm going to try to get a vacation in here. But man, let's go. I'm excited about pro football. This is to me, this feels like it's. I don't think the Chiefs are going to repeat. it just feels like this is one of the most anticipatory seasons for me for the NFL as a whole and the Raiders um, in my 5 years. I think there's just that feeling about this year. It's got a chance to be special, doesn't it?
It does. It should be a lot of fun. I mean, at this time of the year, I think it's always that lull before training camps. You're kind of getting the build up, and I think that it's going to be it's going to be a fun fall.
All right. Last question for me. The Madden 99 team comes out, which are the top 5 players that have a 99 rating on Madden. Um, 4 of them I have zero issue with. I have zero issue with Patrick Mahomes. On a scale of 1 to 100, I think he's the best. I think he should have been. I don't think they've ever given a 100 rating.
No,
Um,
that's the whole point. 99 is like the pinnacle. Yeah.
right. But I think I wouldn't have any issues with them giving Patrick a 100. He's the best. No question about it. They give one to Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson. Okay. I can see if you're giving a 99 to Tyreek and a 99 to if you're giving a 99 to Justin and you're not giving a 99 to Davante, that's ridiculous to me. The Christian McCaffrey, no issue. He's the best running back in the NFL, and it ain't even close. So those 4, I can 3 of those 4 for sure. Justin Jefferson, if you're going on the fact of whose quarterback is, I don't think if you're going to hold Davante to that number, I think you got to hold Justin. That's it. Travis Kelce. I mean, I'm not saying this because he's a chief. I know Travis. Butch Jones, who you know, is one of my very best friends in the world, coached him at Cincinnati, led him back on the team. I respect and and appreciate what Travis has done on the field. Okay, no issues there. I don't think any tight end in this league is a 99, so I don't think he was slighted by anyone. I think he just got a 99 because of off the field things. And that's where it's not disrespect of Travis. It's disrespect to me of the rankings. To have Justin there and not Davante and to have Travis there, to me, disrespect. I'd love your thoughts.
Let me check something real quick. I want to see I want to see who got it last year. Um, I will say I don't have a problem with it because just a quick thing. I looked, he got it last year too, and I think he's been a 99. I don't think it's strictly like, oh, he's Taylor Swift, let's give him a 99. He last year was him, I think Justin Jefferson, Mahomes, Zach Martin, Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald obviously retired. Zach Martin's down to 99. Um, I don't have an issue with it. I think he's still the best tight end, the premier tight end. Does it hurt that he has that off the field cachet? No, but I think it's something he's gotten it before, so I'm okay with it. Um, I think you. I mean, obviously, we expect a quarterback to be 99, a receiver, a running back, whatever. Raider fans will remember going back. One of the most famous uh, 99s was Shane Leckler. He was a punter, and he was a 99 for several years. And I remember Raider fans that I know joking about how, yeah, that's where our team's at right now. Our punter's a 99 in Madden, even though Shane Leckler was fantastic. So you do occasionally see a non-premier position get a 99. Um, so I don't really have an issue with it.
Well, I'm going to give you one other. If Max Crosby isn't a 99, then nobody is. That guy is a freak of nature. I could even make an argument of Christian Wilkins, but I'll give him a 98. But to me, if Max Crosby's not a 99, there's nobody in this league other than Patrick Mahomes that deserves to be a 99 if Max isn't. I'm going to tell you what, that's what makes the Chiefs Raiders rivalry so much fun is Max and Patrick. Max and Patrick. You've been with me at games. I'm a watch the lines kind of guy.
Yeah,
But when those two play, man, I'm just Max and Patrick every play. That's all I care about. It's pretty fascinating, isn't it?
it is. It's fun. two of the best in
All
the
right.
world doing it.
Tell everybody your social media handle, would you, bud?
Sure, you can find me at Matt Halatic 919 at MATTHLA 919 on X, Twitter, whatever you guys want to call it. I'm always over there chatting about some ball, and we're getting into, like I said, getting into that little lull summer. But come July and August, training camp will be going, and pretty soon it'll be week one.
And you've got a lot of Raider fans that are already following you. Again, check them out on Twitter. Remember, go to si.com/NFL/Raiders. We produce 10 or more pieces of content every single day because you people like, subscribe, share, and we just added another staff writer. So we're going to be bringing you even more content. You don't want to miss it. Again, si.com/NFL/Raiders. We'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.